Today on Florida Unscripted, I'm sitting down with Dr. Kassie, the owner of Divine Acupuncture and Wellness. She's located here in Bushnell, and she is really focused on changing the way people think about Chinese and functional medicine.
So I actually opened my practice officially in 2023, and so I just expanded to have the whole space.
Her journey is absolutely incredible, coming from being a music major to then deciding to be a doctor of Chinese medicine.
But it is a full medical system, a 3.5-year program on top of the doctorate time as well, and it's 4 medical boards to become licensed. So it's a commitment. So you have to be ready for that commitment.
We talk about everything from hormones, digestion, infertility, and what it really means for your body to be in balance. We talk about how she went viral on the topic of socks.
I made the internet really mad. And it was about socks.
Let's get into it, and here's my conversation with Dr. Kassie. This is Florida Unscripted.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about what you do and what you specialize in.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Kassie Sirokach. I am an acupuncture physician located in Bushnell, Florida. I have a master's in acupuncture and oriental medicine and a doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine. I graduated from Dragon Rises College and then got my doctorate in Pacific College of Health Sciences. And I opened up my practice here a couple years ago because there was nothing like this where I'm at.
So you said like Pacific Health Science. Like what is, I'm just curious what that is.
Oh, so it is a college over in San Diego. They have a lot of holistic specialized programs. So I decided I want to do that. It's kind of a transitional doctorate because once we have our master's degree, really you can go right into a doctorate degree. So it was actually an online program, but yeah, so that's where I got my doctorate.
Okay, gotcha. I wasn't like sure if that was like a specialty thing that you did or.
Oh, no, yeah.
I was just curious. So when did you officially like open your own practice?
So I actually opened my practice officially in 2023, and I was renting a room in another facility, and I just opened this entire office a couple months ago in June of this year. So I just expanded to have the whole space.
That's awesome. So were you here in Bushnell or were you somewhere else?
Yeah, I was in Bushnell. I actually grew up in Bushnell, so that's why I was really happy to be able to open this here.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I grew up going to an acupuncturist for the majority of my young life. I had severe eczema and like really bad allergies and stuff, so that's what I did for a very long time. I don't know if you know Dr. Deborah Gaffney. She's in DeLand. She's been there for freaking ever.
The name sounds very familiar.
Yeah. She did a lot of extensive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She was like very big in the acupuncture world. She's a really quirky lady, but she's pretty cool. She goes by Dr. Rusty, is what everybody.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she had his red hair, so that's why they call her that.
I like it.
Now, did you always plan on doing what you do, or?
No, I didn't. I actually originally, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a music teacher. So I was a music major for about 4 years. And then my final year of college, I decided, no, I don't think this is what I want to do anymore. And so I tried to change my major to a couple different things, but I kind of took a break for a little bit and then, kind of just went through life for a while and realized that there is definitely a different route to go. This was something I was always really interested in, but I just didn't know what was my calling. And then finally I knew someone who was in this medicine and found that it was a possibility for me to do. So then I decided, okay, let me see if I can do it. And I did.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I feel like a lot of people end up, did you graduate with a music degree or no?
No. And it sucks so much because when you're a music major, you don't take all your associate classes in the first 2 years like a normal college degree would. So that's spread out throughout the entire 4-year program of a music degree. So even after having 132 credits is what I had, I still didn't even have an associate's degree. So I had no bachelor's, I had no associates, and I had enough credits for both. So it was, so no music degree, no degrees. I did go back to college a couple more times to get my associate's degree before going to my master's program. But yeah.
Yeah, journey to get there. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
It was a journey for sure.
It's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of how it always goes. I feel like you end up finding what you're most passionate for, like through time and all of that. So like, how did you really get like into like, I'm going to say like functional medicine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I used to work in neurology, and when I was in neurology, I think the doctor I worked for, she was amazing. She really helped so many people, but you would see the same thing over and over and over again, like the same problem, and it was the same solution. And so for example, someone came in with a migraine and they would be given sumatriptan or amitriptyline and, 4 other medications for this migraine. They'd given the same, don't drink red wine wine, avoid cheese, and, 2 other things. And then they'd send their patients on the way. And then the patient would come back, the migraine's not any better. Okay, well, here's another medication. There was never like a real solution to the problem. There was never a real finding the root cause of the problem. It was just a very blanketed approach. And I just knew there was a different way. And so that's when, Chinese medicine or natural medicine, and also functional medicine is something I did pursue as well, really kind of like brought it, became apparent to me. Like I really wanted to find the root cause, and these medicines were allowing me to do that with people.
Okay, yeah, no, you just mentioned, like, I guess I'm really not educated on this either. Could you, like, explain, like, what the difference is between, like, the 3 that you just talked about? So, like, Chinese medicine, functional medicine, and then you mentioned something else, too. I don't know what. Alternative? Yeah. I think that's what you said. I don't remember what I said. I think you said alternative. Okay. So you said like functional Chinese and alternative.
Well, so I say alternative medicine because, we're in the Western side of the world. So anything that's not Westernized medicine is alternative medicine. Although Chinese medicine has been around significantly longer than Western medicine. So it's not really an alternative medicine. It's just an unknown medicine to this side of the world. So really I would say Western medicine is an alternative medicine to a lot of places, but Chinese medicine and functional medicine, really Chinese medicine is like the functional medicine, the original functional medicine. Functional medicine is just the Westernized version of Chinese medicine because they both have the same goal. They're both going to the root cause. But the one thing with functional medicine that I have noticed with a lot of practitioners, but I try my best to hold my Chinese medicine roots, is that it becomes labs and then supplements, and then that's it. It's just a really expensive version or Western medicine, a really expensive version of Western medicine that you pay out of pocket for. And Chinese medicine is really getting to the root cause. So I try my best to stay true with that because I love that functional medicine is good to give you that in-person, that visual of what's wrong because you see the labs. Chinese medicine, you can't really see the stuff because we use tongue diagnosis and pulse diagnosis. We're looking at your face. We're reading different things on the body. And so sometimes people can't see that. And that's where functional medicine is very nice because they can actually see what's wrong with them because they have it on a paper. So essentially they're the same thing. They're just one's Westernized and one is Chinese.
So like functional, you could say it was like the kind of like sort of a combination of both, but still not really fixing the problem.
Yeah, it can fix the problem. It can. It just depends on who's doing it because I have seen providers who do functional medicine and they get one focus, like they're all about gut health or they're all about hormone health or, whatever it may be. And I also am like about 1 or 2, but then they do like 1 or 2 different types of tests and they get the answers and they go back to their Western mindset of like, this is your normal labs instead of these are optimal ranges. And then they prescribe them a Western medication. So they don't really do the functional medicine side. That's what functional medicine is supposed to be about. They don't do the nutritional side. And so that's when Chinese medicine is amazing too, because we do all that. And so I make sure I kind of do them both. So yeah, it's like the Westernized version of the Chinese medicine.
I also feel like people who do functional medicine typically have had some backing in healthcare, whether they were like ARNPs or they were actual doctors or something of that nature. So they kind of feel most comfortable and are most familiar with that like Western medicine functionality because that's what they did. That's all they know.
Yeah.
Where like you may have worked in like those realms, but you weren't necessarily like doing that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like your comfort zone is more of the Chinese medicine type of, I guess I could say like alternative, but true alternative to what we deal with today.
Yeah. The school I went to specifically, Dragon Rises for my master's, we specialize in contemporary Oriental medicine or contemporary Chinese medicine, which is very, very unique that no other school has done. And so it's about our current terrain, our current lifestyle, the current toxins that are out there. And then, still focusing on the traditional side of the medicine, which is really cool. And I think has a very like special tie into functional medicine. So I love it the way I do it because I focus on the, the terrain, the stress, the root, the vulnerability that a person has, and functional medicine blends really, really well with that whenever I do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I think they all have their place. I just think we have to make sure that the main goal is that we are actually treating the problem and fixing the issue, and so that way that person actually can have the best quality of life.
Exactly.
Because constantly being ill and constantly having issues is definitely not, it's for the birds. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah.
Especially in America, we all want convenient, we all want easy, which I think in a lot of ways Chinese medicine, it's a longer period and you have to be consistent and you have to, do what you're supposed to do, which I think Americans like the functional medicine or the Western medicine because we just pop a pill and we're like, you're good to go. And I'm like, I don't really think think that's like how that should work.
It is definitely a challenge because even my family members are more, they'd rather have a medication that makes them feel better, even though it's not really fixing the problem. It's just blanketing over the problem. But you got to do what you got to do. I'm not going to knock on Western medicine because if I get in a car accident,
Exactly.
don't send me to my acupuncturist, send me to the hospital, please. So, it has its place.
It does. No, I definitely agree with that. I don't disagree, but I feel like if a combination or like finding what combo works best for you.
Yeah.
As long as your needs are actually being met and the person's not just doing it for money.
Exactly.
I mean, I hate to be that way, but I know we all want to make money, but sometimes it does come down to that.
You're right. 100%.
It does. So tell us a little bit about like what you, with your like backing, would consider somebody that would be like what you consider to be healthy or what you would define as healthy.
Yeah. So we would look at the tongue, we'd feel the pulse, we'd look at the face, we'd look at their lifestyle choices. Someone who is eating more warming foods, who isn't going for their iced coffees every day. They have a nice rosy complexion. They're not super pale. They're not super red. They wear socks to bed. Someone who probably gets a good night's rest. They, try to avoid the blue light late at night and they're able to stay asleep. They wake up, they eat breakfast between 7 and 9 a.m. because we have an organ clock. They have a nice hearty lunch. Their emotions are well balanced. There's always going to be fluctuations in the balance in our body. So like, we're not always going to be 100% healthy, but as long as we're kind of maintaining that throughout the day, then we're going to be healthy. But I don't think there's ever going to be a perfectly healthy person. But, I always use a tongue as a good marker. So, a tongue that's nice and pink, it's not super big, it's not super small. It doesn't have a lot of cracks on it. There's not a really thick coat. There's not a lack of coat, but it's a nice pink tongue. And then the pulse is nice and strong. It's not super robust, but it's also not deficient, completely gone.
So what would be the opposite of that? Is it like a bad thing or?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing. It tells us if someone has a lot of excess in the body or a lot of deficiencies of different sorts in the body. So if someone has a very red face or they've got a very poundy pulse, we can maybe assume, and their tongue is maybe red, maybe there's cracks all in their tongue, their digestion probably isn't very good. They might have anger outbursts. They might eat a lot of spicy foods. They might have high blood pressure. Maybe they have really bad road rage. There's a couple different things that kind of, go with it. Maybe they're constipated or they have really, really burning urination. And then if they're more on the deficient side, maybe they're more pale, they're more tired, maybe they have loose stool, bloating, they have poor memory, maybe like a very scanty urination or scanty periods if they're a female. There's a lot of different things that can show up whenever they're out of balance.
So is that like when you're like a cold body versus warm body? I guess that's what I'm trying to paint a picture of.
You could sort of look at it that way. Or like a yang deficiency versus a yin deficiency. Okay. So if you're familiar with like the yin yang symbol. So
So just really just like not being like in the middle.
Yeah. So actually maybe a better way. So, yin yang. So our body is constantly mutually consuming and intertransforming and interdepending on each other. And we have oppositions as well. So we want all of this to stay in balance. And as day turns to night, night turns to day, there's always a little bit of the other in it. And so we want our body to kind of be in that same process. So, and then when something comes out of balance, and that's when chaos essentially occurs.
Yeah, I feel like our lives are very chaotic anyway. We always are very busy, always on the go, always chasing something. That's just kind of how we live our lives, whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but that's just how
Definitely not good.
No. So what would you say that the number one thing that people typically come into you for?
So that's actually a hard question because I get a little bit of everything, but two stick out the most, maybe three. Pain tends to be like one of the number ones because people think acupuncture and, pain is what acupuncture is for. Anytime people see acupuncture, they're like, oh yeah, that can help my neck pain or that can help my back pain. But really it can do so much more than that. And the people who do know, they will come to me. But I would say hormones and digestion are probably the top two. I especially see a lot of women dealing with perimenopausal symptoms and menopausal symptoms, and then allergies. Probably those are like my top four, but pain tends to kind of trump it all just because that's what most people are familiar with it being helpful for.
Which is really interesting because I always feel like it's always been the opposite for me. I mean, granted, like I went to an acupuncturist for allergies, but like, I don't know, that's always been like what I've always heard, I guess. It's like if you would go there like for allergy related issues.
No, I'm glad that you heard it for that because literally everyone always hears it for pain. Like, I have this big old blue sign on the road and every time we have someone come in, 9 times out of 10, they're talking about their neck or their back or their knees or something is hurting on them. And they've heard acupuncture helps for them. So, or helps for that. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And do you think it's because of an age group thing, or?
Yes. And then, sometimes for an age group, but also because, there's not a lot of studies out there, like published studies out there for acupuncture. And the studies that are out there are mostly pain related, and people, so they immediately think acupuncture is needles. And even though I do so much more than needle people, it's herbal medicine, it's lifestyle, it's magnets, it's moxibustion, it's ear seeds, all these different modalities that I have under my belt. But, needles, they just immediately see needle testing for back pain or whatever it may be. But there's a lot of other really valid studies out there that people don't know to search for, all the other things that it can help with. So, but I think it has to do with what people see on the internet, really.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Maybe that's maybe because there's a lot of older people here, but there's also young people too. So I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
To me, that's just kind of interesting. I know you just mentioned like a lot of different like areas of acupuncture. Do you want to go through like some of the things that you can do, or how that all works, or how that would benefit somebody?
Yeah, sure. So acupuncture, of course, is the most common modality that people think of when they think of Chinese medicine. And that's the needles, which the needles are very, very tiny. They're as thin as almost a piece of hair. I'm not going to say painless, but they're very, very minimal discomfort. Some areas you're not going to feel them at all. Some areas like our hands or our feet might have a little bit of a pinch, but nothing too crazy. And, no one has ever jumped off the table when I put a needle in them. Most worst sensation you might feel is like a mosquito bite for a second.
I think some mosquitoes are worse.
Yeah, no, really. That's like a severe sensation. And moxibustion is probably one of my most favorite modalities that I offer. And this is actually a modality that's older than acupuncture by,
Okay.
Can't even remember the time frame of it, but yes, it is a much older modality. And it's an herb called mugwort that is in a burnable form. And it's used to burn on certain parts of the body for stimulation of those points or for other reasons. So one of the most common ones that I use it for in practice is on the belly button, which is an acupuncture point, Ren 8. We don't ever needle that point because obviously it's a belly button. But, if you think about when you were in utero, you were feeding through your umbilicus cord. So that is still a good source of feeding, essentially. So moxibustion on this point can really help with feeding the herbs in there and helping with boosting the immune system, boosting the yang energy, our strength, boosting just overall like vitality in the body, a lot of other benefits. But I also do moxibustion sticks. I make moxa kits that my patients can purchase, and it has a little ebook so they know like certain points that they can use it for different things. So I have it for, to stop period bleeding, to help with warming the uterus, to help with digestion, to help with boosting the immune system, calming the mind, grounding, all these different things. So I love moxibustion. It's great. It smells amazing. And then ear seeds are a pretty popular thing. They're becoming more popular now. I've seen some viral videos, and that's just where our ear is a microsystem, and it's kind of, imagine like a baby curled up upside down inside our ear. And so that kind of reflects the entire organ system, the spinal process, the head, everything going on in the body. So you can kind of treat it through the ear. So we can stimulate that through little balls that are attached to adhesive, and people can go home with them and they can wear them for like a week, and then it's stimulating the points and it helps.
Interesting.
And then magnets. I love magnets. I know that sounds really weird to say, but the magnets have two polarities when you get the right ones. I wouldn't say going to use a refrigerator magnet is going to have the same effect because you want a certain level of them, but the magnets have two sides, a north side and a south side, and you can put them on certain acupressure points, and they're going to help with tonifying or releasing really whatever your body needs. And if you do the north side, it's going to help with acute. The south side is more chronic conditions. Yesterday I had a headache and I did some acupressure with the magnets, knowing where my headache was, and it took it away pretty quickly. So they're really cool, really effective, needle free. So it's great for children. I love treating children, but great for children. And then,
Yeah, no, I'm sure that doing needles on children, I did it when I was like, how old was I when I went to Dr. Rusty? I think I was like 5, and I had been there like her patient for like the longest time. And when I was a little kid, and like as I got older, she would use me like as the test patient, I guess. So she would be like, come here, Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
So she'd like come and do it on me and like show it in front of the kids so that way they weren't scared to do it. But it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I love it. My daughter's I'm trying to slowly get her in to let me do like acupuncture on her, but magnets and moxa and all that stuff for now is good for her.
I know it can be, the kids get a little bit scared.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, I get it. It's, it's a little scary, I guess, when you get somebody with needles coming in towards you and,
Yeah.
I know you're talking specifically about women's health, and nearly 1 in 5 women in the U.S. are struggling with some type of infertility, and PCOS is typically the number one thing that people are dealing with. How could you help somebody with that, or, what do you think is causing it?
Mm-hmm.
I just love to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, so PCOS in Chinese medicine can have a lot of different roots or causes. A lot lot of time it has to do with a blood stagnation in the body, or it could be like a Chiang Mai imbalance, which is an extraordinary meridian. It's a sea of blood. There's some sort of kidney, spleen, liver. There's an imbalance in some of these organs. So essentially, we look at the tongue, we feel the pulse, and we see what is out of balance. And a lot of times it has to do with especially the kidney, liver, and spleen. And we treat it that way. Herbs are amazing for patients who are dealing with PCOS. Sometimes it does require Western intervention, but herbs especially tend to be kind of like the big thing here. I do have some patients actually now that I treat for PCOS, and it's not an all cure all, like absolutely, but it has been super helpful, especially for those who deal with infertility. Moxa as well, like doing moxa on the lower abdomen. So, at home I have them doing like warm heating packs, like warm moxa on there, keeping their back warm, wearing socks. Socks is a big thing for me. That's probably how I went viral on the internet, was telling people to wear socks and making a lot of people mad. But PCOS and socks is a big thing. So it helps keeping the uterus warm, and it helps keep our kidney channels warm, which, essentially helps with circulation. So if they have blood stagnation in Chinese medicine, it helps to prevent or reduce that chance.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I saw the sock thing with you, and I was like, that's interesting. Could you I'm just curious, so does it have to do with making the body more warm?
Kind of, yeah. So our kidney channel actually starts on the base of our foot, and the kidneys are responsible for storing our essence or our jing in Chinese medicine. So what that is it is essentially what we're born with. Our prenatal essence is what we inherit from our parents. And so depending on the life of our parents, the health of our parents, what our parents went through during conception to birth, that all contributes to our essence. And so if we have a weak starting essence, then we're probably going to have poor health. But we have that, and then we have our postnatal essence, which is what we consume through in our body. So like our food, our diet, our nutrition, mental, emotional, everything that we're consuming inside is our postnatal essence. And then our kidney essence is a combination of both. So all of that is super important, or extremely important, for maintaining good health. And, if we live like a rock star lifestyle, like say, like Ozzy Osbourne or whoever, we live a rock star lifestyle, we're burning through that essence pretty bad. So we have to do anything we can to maintain it, especially if we have a weak essence. So kidneys, again, they're the root of our essence, and we want to keep the kidneys warm. The kidneys have to stay warm to maintain health and life in the body. So because our kidneys channel starts on the base of our foot, we start that with keeping our feet warm. So I actually wear 3 pairs of socks to bed, which I know sounds insane, but I have never slept better in my life than when I started doing that. My periods got significantly better, and yeah, it makes a huge difference. So our kidney starts on the base of our foot, and our spleen and our liver also is on our foot, and a lot of other channels that go up, and all of these channels go right into our uterus. So if people are having really bad period pain or discomfort, cramps, anything like that, just wearing socks on the feet will make a huge difference for them. And I've gotten thousands of people tell me that they've tried it and it has made a huge difference for them. So it's worth trying. I mean, nothing is going to hurt wearing socks to bed.
Interesting. Does it have to be do you recommend wool socks, or?
Yeah, I would go with wool if you can. I will say I usually wear my husband's socks, just regular socks, and then I'll wear his winter socks, and then I'll wear my wool socks. I'll wear all 3 socks together. It's ridiculous. But yeah, wool socks, especially if you have to choose one pair.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I was just curious. Now, I know a lot of people also deal with a lot of digestive issues, which actually this number really surprised me, of 60 million Americans deal with that yearly, which just, that number is some of these numbers really just blew me away, to be honest with you. And women are actually twice as likely to have those issues than men. What do you think maybe that is?
So Chinese medicine, we call one thing that can happen is spleen qi deficiency. The other is stomach yin deficiency. So spleen qi deficiency is caused by poor dietary choices, and that can be a lot of cold foods. So iced coffees in the morning, iced waters, iced beverages, a lot of salads, which I know in Western world inherently are good, but they can actually be really damaging for our digestion. Energetically cold foods like raw fruits, raw veggies, all of these things are really damaging to our spleen. Our spleen really craves warmth, and it's responsible for transforming and transporting the foods in our body. And so whenever we put a lot of cold things into our body, it's going to make the spleen have to work harder, and then it can't properly transform and transport that food. And then it ends up leading to bloating, loose stool, other digestive upset, stomach cramping, brain fog, anxiety, poor sleep, all these things. And then on the other side of that is stomach yin deficiency. And that's more of the constipation issues. And so that's someone who has probably overworked their digestive system. Maybe they have a history of a lot of antibiotic use. So, maybe their bacteria is not very good in their stomach anymore. And maybe they eat a lot of spicy foods. Maybe they have a history of a lot of smoked meats or smoking. Like they just really dried out the digestive system. So they need to nourish their body a little bit more with like more fluidy type foods and beverages. But yeah, so it really has to do with our diet. Like we don't think about our iced coffee we're getting from Starbucks every morning and how damaging it really is for our digestive system, because they think, oh yeah, it's just clearing me out. But no, it's really, really messing up our spleen.
God. Yeah, that's not too good. Yeah. Definitely not good. I mean, they put enough crap in it anyway, so it would probably make you feel, it would probably wouldn't do you well anyway. But I know since you were talking about like the importance of gut microbiome, and I remember when because like I said, I went to have a degree in dietetics, so I was very much in the whole health science, like just science in general when it came to like the human body and human anatomy. Like that was my thing. So I used to like spend hours listening to podcasts and doing all that. It's like was a huge thing for me. And so they always talked about, always remembered it talking about how the gut microbiome is really super important and really is like our gut is our second brain. There is that whole connection between like the gut sympathizes with the brain and vice versa, which I think is a really interesting connection and is super important. What are some things that you would recommend to like, help, I'm sure, like strengthen that connection?
So my favorite probiotic is called Megaspore Biotic. That's just one thing that could be taken as a daily supplement. And I really like that probiotic because it doesn't have to be refrigerated. And kind of this is what I stand by, is that the probiotics that have to be refrigerated, not saying they're all bad, but if you think just like what I said about the spleen does not like cold. So you're putting something really cold into the body, a cold probiotic, and then it has to make its way all the way to the digestive system to, regulate all of the bacteria.
Which is very warm anyway.
Yeah. And so most of that stuff dies off. And so it doesn't really do what it needs to do. But Megaspore is a regular, shelf probiotic, doesn't have to be refrigerated, and it has living spores in it. And so most of it will make it to the digestive system to help recondition the gut. So that is like one just simple thing. But instead of having an iced coffee or an iced water, like a cold beverage in the morning, doing like a warm water or hot tea or water with lemon, or even just water without ice. Like if you got to start somewhere, water without ice. I know we live in Florida, so it's a little hard to always do hot all the time. We're getting into soup season, so that makes it a little bit easier, but warming foods. Again, I know it's Florida, but we have to find a way to make our body like the warmth a little bit more. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to completely obliterate smoothies from your diet, but if you decide to have a smoothie, maybe don't add the ice to the smoothie, so you're more juicing, but make sure you have something to warm that up. So, adding ginger or cinnamon to it, things that are going to kind of neutralize that cold temperature. I'm not going to say I'm anti like raw fruits and raw veggies and juicing and things like that, but they really are damaging. So I would not recommend them if someone is having digestive issues. And I would definitely go with regular eating schedule, avoid the ice, avoid the cold, wear socks, and just, keep the abdomen warm.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's interesting anyway. It's just, I feel like it's actually not that hard to do.
It's really not.
It's really not.
It's just up here that for people.
I guess. I'll be honest, I'm not one of those people that likes ice in their water, like at all. I hate that. And I also, I prefer hot coffee. Like I'll have iced coffee, like every once in a while, but it's just not like it's not my thing. My typical warm coffee.
I wish I liked coffee. I can't.
Oh, I love coffee. Oh my God. It's like my favorite thing ever. It's like, that's like the one thing. So I don't do well with like artificial sweeteners at all, which really isn't a bad thing because they're not good for you anyway. But I can't drink them. I'll end up with a migraine. Like it's a migraine trigger for me. And so I don't do that. And then I can't drink black tea because it usually doesn't do me that great either. So I don't do that. So I really have like water and coffee. That's like my life. Yeah. So I'm like water or coffee. That's what I get. That's what I get to deal with. It's like kind of boring, but I do enjoy coffee. Just get like really good organic coffee. But honestly, that really messes up. Like if I really love going to coffee shops and like enjoying like the like ambiance of like a good coffee shop. Yeah. But it ruins you when you have organic coffee because when you go and have like non-organic, it doesn't taste great.
Yeah.
It's just not. And I buy like organic milk too, so it's just like all of that, and then I go and drink, and I'm just like, I almost don't even want to go anymore. Yeah, it's really sad though.
I guess in a way it's saving you money.
Yeah, it is. I guess I don't do it that often, but it's like the one thing that I enjoy doing the most. So let's kind of go back to you and what you're doing. What are some goals that you have like towards the end of this year, beginning of next year?
Oh, well, I'm hoping to hire another Chinese medicine practitioner. That's been going on for a while, but, unfortunately the area that we're in is not many of us around, which is okay. But, I'm hoping, because I am kind of at a point where I need another person here. I'm busy enough and I want to bring in more people. I don't know if I mentioned that I'm a professor, but I am a professor for Chinese medicine. So I'm still expanding into that a little bit more. But with doing that, I love teaching. I love educating. So I'm trying to create more platforms for for non-TCM practitioners to learn about Chinese medicine. So I do have like a little course for that. So I'm trying to develop another one. I'm also trying to create like a CEU course for moxibustion and functional medicine and practitioners, which is something that hasn't been done. So, that's another little thing I'm trying to do. And I'm also hosting a Bali trip in February. So, trying to get some people who want to go to Bali with me and have a little wellness retreat.
No, that's exciting. I know. I'm sure trying to find people is probably not that easy.
It's funny. There's a lot of people who really want to go, and they said they're going to go. So we're just waiting to see if they're going to go. So, no, it's going to be fun.
What are you guys going to do there?
We get to hike to the top of a volcano.
Okay.
We get to swing on top of a mountain. We get to work with a lot of healers. We get to do some sound healing, touring a lot of really cool places, eating some cool foods. I honestly can't remember everything. Qigong. I'm going to be doing Qigong every single day, which is just energetic exercises. Yeah, that's some fun, nice, relaxing wellness things.
No, that sounds like a really great time. Yeah. So usually towards the end of my podcast, what I always kind of like ask is like as a way to give back to those who are young, trying to figure out what they want to do, because I feel like I was that person trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I think with social media today, we can, I don't know, people can use that to kind of help diversify their thought process of what they ended up doing. It's like, just like you, just like me, we ended up doing something we never thought we would do.
Yeah.
It may be something we always were interested in or knew something about, but definitely wasn't like what we thought we were going to
Right.
do. So if somebody's looking to do what you do, what would you tell them?
You have to have an associate's degree to get started, but go to somebody first just to see what it's about. Ask them questions, go see a practitioner you trust and learn a little bit more about the medicine, see if it's truly something you want to do, because it is a journey. It's not something that's going to, happen overnight for anybody. It is an entire medical program. That's the one thing people don't understand about Chinese medicine, because I actually do get asked this question a lot, like what certification do you have to take? But it is a full medical system. It's a 3.5 year, 40-month program on top of the doctorate time as well. And it's 4 medical boards to become licensed. So, it's a commitment. So you have to be ready for that commitment, because it doesn't happen overnight. So it's a complete life-changing experience, and be ready to be a different person when you come out of the program too.
Could you tell us like a little bit of like more in depth of like what that process looks like?
Yeah. So I did have an associate's program or associate's degree whenever I went into my program. The program itself does do a dual bachelor's and master's program in that 3.5 years. It is back-to-back trimesters. So you only get 2 weeks in between the semesters. So it's a long time. Like you can't work a full-time job. I had my own little jewelry business on the side to like kind of make ends meet as I did this program. And then after I graduated, I was like head on first to do these boards. And we had to do a boards on like the foundations of Chinese medicine, acupuncture, biomedicine, and herbal medicine, which is like a whole other language. It is not easy. People, I don't think, fully understand that, the time you have to take to study for them. But yeah, it's a process. It took me in total for everything probably about 4 years. And then with the doctorate, probably about 6 years with everything. So It was a process.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
A whole different person now.
That's a lot of time. I mean, I get it though. I mean, it's like complicated. It's not that simple. And you're dealing with the human body, and like, it's a lot.
And it's like, even trying to explain it sometimes to people it's Western medicine, you learn Western medicine, Chinese medicine, you learn Chinese medicine, Western medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, like all these different medicines together. And, on top of it, you still have to learn more and continue to grow. And because people only understand in this world Western medicine. So you have to be able to translate this whole other language of medicine to Western medicine mindsets. So that way they can kind of understand what you're doing. And even then they'll still look at you weird. So you just go with it.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to like talk a little bit about you with social media and kind of how that all went. Because so how long did it really take you to like pop off? Was it like just like one video that like did it, or?
Yeah, I made the internet really mad.
Oh, controversy is great.
Yeah, and it was about socks.
Really?
It was.
That was the video about socks?
It was a video about socks. It was last year, I think in September. I think it was September. I just made a video. It was like, oh no. Like, I don't remember what the sound was, but it was just, when my female patient tells me that they, with period pain, that they tell me that they walk on cold surfaces without socks or something like that. I don't remember. And, I was called a witch doctor. I was called woo-woo. I heard it was snake oil, that I'm not real, like all this really bad stuff. But then I had, again, hundreds to thousands of comments talking about their ancestors, their elders telling them this is what they should have been doing, and they do it, and it's helped them so much. So I had a lot more good comments than bad comments, but you still get all the crazies that are just like anti-Chinese medicine. They refuse to believe it helps in any way. But yeah, you'd think I like murdered somebody the way that they reacted to me talking about socks.
That's really funny.
It is really funny. So
The sock video.
Yeah,
That's fun.
sock video.
Yeah.
So it's my thing now.
Okay.
I've got feet warming socks coming in soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is it like, are they going to be like themed or like a certain, like what? I'm just curious.
They're just going to be basic ones, but they have like a thermal thing on the bottom, so they naturally warm up your feet. So I'm really excited to get them because I'm like, if I'm going to be the sock lady, I'm going to be the sock lady.
Yeah, you might as well make some money off of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, let the haters hate so you can make money.
Exactly.
That's what we got to do.
Exactly.
So just a real quick recap. Can you just go over some like the services that you provide and like how somebody would get in contact with you and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I do a variety of things here from acupuncture, herbal medicine, moxibustion, microneedling, so some cosmetic acupuncture, some acupuncture facials. I also do cupping and gua sha. We have a sauna here. So we have a membership where people can use the sauna as part of the membership for free. We also have a salt room in here, so which is really great for sinus congestion. It's great for kids. And then we also do have a massage therapist in here that specializes in manual lymphatic massage and intraoral. And then they do a really good clinical massage. So they're great for pain. So we do a little bit of everything, for wellness. And they can get in contact through my website, divine-acupuncture.com, or they can call us at 352-603-0333.
333.
Very easy number to memorize.
Yeah, that is actually pretty easy. That's a good thing. Yeah. Did you pick that?
No, it actually belonged to my stepdad who passed away, and I kept the number. Yeah. So, it worked out. It worked out. Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you want to add before we wrap up officially?
No, I don't think so. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You did fantastic.
No,
I know you were really nervous.
Oh man, I'm so awkward.
You're great. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Florida Unscripted, and check back next week for another great episode.